Well, welcome back to 7 Gateways to More Purpose and Joy. In this 9th episode, we'll take a look at how approaching situations from the perspective of different gateways has a remarkable influence on the outcomes. In the previous videos, we examined each gateway in turn, looking at the characteristics of each, how they often appear, and how to move from one to the next. In this video, we'll take more of a bird's eye view to get a clearer picture of how these gateways as a whole can play out. The real point of learning about these energy levels is to give you a choice about how you respond to circumstances in your life. Now, as mentioned in every video, none of the gateways is better or worse than another. They all have advantages and disadvantages, but becoming skilled with a perspective of each level provides us with many possibilities. And as you progress through the levels, the possibilities increase exponentially. When we're experiencing that first gateway, we seem to have only one option: be a victim. When we experience the second gateway, we have basically 2 ways of understanding a situation. There's a plethora of wrong ways and one right way, ours. But by the time we're in the third gateway, we clearly have a number of possibilities of how to achieve our goal. And these possibilities keep multiplying until we reach the 7th level, where there's virtually an unlimited number of possibilities. Now, if you recall, we summarized each gateway with a single sentence focused around winning and losing. The first level was, I always lose. We could only see life through our own eyes, unable to even consider that someone else has a perspective. And what we could see is how alone and powerless we seem. The second gateway, I win, therefore you lose. And at this gateway, we became more aware of others, but could only see them as adversaries. It was the entire world against us. The third gateway, I win, and hopefully we can find a way for you to win as well. Now, at this gateway, we're now able to see that there's indeed more than one perspective, and that cooperation, rather than conflict, could help us get to our goals. At the fourth gateway, I win only if you win first. Here, our perspective completely reverses directions, and we become heavily focused on the other person's needs and point of view. Keep in mind, though, that a true level 4 perspective does not neglect one's own needs. The fifth gateway, if we don't both win, we don't play this game. At this gateway, we see that our winning and the winning of others is equally important. And this perspective results in countless opportunities. The sixth gateway, we always win. Here, we learn that the boundaries between ourselves and the rest of the world begin to break down. We are in the universe, and the universe is in us. From this vantage point, we understand that everything that happens has purpose. We never lose. And at the 7th gateway, winning and losing are just illusions. Here we discover that the usual human way of understanding the world kind of breaks down. We've moved past the world defined by opposites, the world where there is good and bad, hot and cold, male, female, up, down. We understand everything is energy and that the opposites are only illusions created by our minds. So, if everything is energy, we can apply these gateways to everything. So let's take a popular topic, money, for example. How do these gateways look when applied to money? Well, from a level 1 perspective, the idea of money is seen from a place of scarcity. At level 2, greed. Level 3, control. Level 4, charity. And level 5, we see the opportunities it presents. Level 6, money is to be shared by all. And level 7, money doesn't actually exist. Now, think about how you view money. Which gateway seems to resonate with you the most when you think about money? And what would change in your life if you viewed money from a different perspective? Now let's move to another popular topic, time. How do these gateways look when applied to the idea of time? Well, level 1, time is continually working against me. I'm at the mercy of time. At level 2, time is something that I continually fight against, not only to get all that needs to be done, but also to avoid the inevitability of death as long as possible. At level 3, time is a natural part of life, and although it's limited, I can and will develop effective strategies to manage it. Level 4, there are so many ways that I can contribute, and I want to use my time to make sure I make the greatest contribution in the time that I have. Level 5, the way I use my time is totally up to me. I can relax and do nothing, or I can create or do something exciting. It's completely my choice. Time is a gift. Level 6, time stands still for me whenever I'm completely focused in the experience of life. There is an eternity of time, as this moment is endless. Level 7, time is a linear illusion created in the human experience to measure what appears to be a limited life. Now, how about the experience of those in the middle of their lives? They've probably got a high level of responsibility at work, maybe a spouse or partner, kids, a mortgage, maybe even aging parents to care for. They have many obligations and responsibilities, pulling them in many different directions. How might their experience of life look from the perspective of the 7 different gateways? Well, the first, woe is me. I am trapped by all my obligations, and I see no way out. Level 2, I'm sick and tired of always working. If only the others would pitch in, I could have some time to myself too. Level 3, I've got all my jobs and responsibilities plotted out in my planner. It's really full, but this schedule won't go on forever. Level 4, honey, it looks like you could use a break. Would you like me to rub your back? Level 5, yay, I get to watch my kids play softball again. Level 6, this stage in my life is only one of many. Each has its own inherent beauty. And level 7, the amount of responsibilities and obligations I have really has no power to affect my thoughts, feelings, or actions. The important point here is that life doesn't need to change in order for us to see it differently. It's our perception that creates our experience, not the other way around. So, let's look at an example of a situation that's maybe a little less abstract and how these different perspectives change our experience. Let's say your partner asks you to help with a small project around the house. You say no and give no further explanation. Now, based on your partner's level of energy, he or she will most likely view that as follows. Level 1, victim. My partner doesn't love me enough to do this for me. This leads to apathy, hopelessness, depression, guilt, despair. At level 2, conflict. My partner is a selfish, inconsiderate jerk. Now, even though some would actually say this, it's just as devastating when they think it but don't say it. This is the blame game, and the result will likely be anger, resentment, and/or revenge. Level 3, responsibility. I don't like that he or she said no, but I'm sure my partner would have helped me if I had asked at another time when he or she wasn't so busy. This leads to forgiveness, but it will not change the core feelings or actions very much. A level 4 response, concern. My partner must be very tired, or maybe something else is wrong. I wonder what I can do to help him or her. This leads to more of an effort to help the partner. The primary reward is the feeling of satisfaction from helping to make things better. It's not about the one requesting help any longer, and he or she hasn't taken his or her partner's response personally. Level 5, reconciliation. I see how things are. I'm sure I can create a way to not only help my partner to get more time to relax, but also, because of that, maybe he or she will even help me with that really big project I've been wanting to do. This leads to a brainstorming session for mutual gain. Level 6, which is synthesis, I feel great for being in this relationship. It offers so much variety and experience. Maybe he or she will help me later on. I didn't really need help anyway. I just thought it would be more fun if we did it together. There's no negative or positive direct result on this type of thinking, as this person is already at a very high level and thus would not be negatively affected by any bad news, as no news is bad. Level 7, the idea of creation. Nothing actually occurred on a quantum level. There is no time, no past or future. Everything is simply creation unfolding. Now, for a more practical perspective, if this person were actually able to access this 7th level, he or she would be able to utilize any of the other levels as they chose. And here's the important point. Unlike those who are actually at those levels, this person would be able to use the levels instead of being used by them. Remember from the last video that consciously choosing a catabolic energy turns it anabolic. And actually, no one in the world can remain at this level all the time, but we can all tap into it and access our non-judgment and creative genius. Now here's another scenario. You'll hear two ways of approaching the circumstance of a child bringing home a, less than stellar report card from school. In the first example, the mother approaches the situation from a catabolic perspective. In the second, from an anabolic level.
I just saw your report card. You'd better improve your grades if you expect to get into that college.
What do you want from me? I'm doing the best I can.
Well, obviously, that's not good enough. Just study harder and don't spend so much time on that computer of yours.
But Mom, that's the only way I get to talk to my friends, and I'm just so busy.
End of discussion. I'm really disappointed in you. Get those grades up or else.
So what did you notice about how that scenario played out? If you're like most people, you could feel the tension building between the two of them. There was a clear sense of hierarchy, and the mom seemed to have all the power, or at least did her best to wield power. And the daughter seemed to be shut down and be on the defensive. How do you think the interaction felt to each of them? Probably not very good. And now here's the second scenario, the anabolic version.
I just saw your report card. It seems like you might need some help in school. What's going on?
I know my grades have slipped this semester. I'm just so busy between sports and my friends and everything else. I just can't find the time for everything.
You are really busy, and I'm happy that you have a full life. What ideas can you come up with to help you have it all, including the grades you want?
Oh man, I don't know. Well, I love being on my computer. Maybe I can make up a chart and figure out how I'm really spending my time now. And I can ask Jane how she does it. She always seems to have time for everything.
That's great. How can I support you?
So, what did you notice about how this scenario played out? The feeling was certainly very different. The parent honored what was important to her daughter and enlisted her ideas of how she might better manage her time and improve her grades. And instead of shutting down, the daughter was able to come up with solutions or steps that she could take to solve the problem. And this involvement creates much greater motivation. Besides that, it seems like this interaction strengthened their relationship instead of creating more friction. Now, clearly, having choices and options about how we respond to situations in our lives makes an enormous difference in our relationships and in our experiences. So, what are the differences between catabolic and anabolic leaders? Well, at work, how can you recognize whether you or anyone else is leading from a catabolic perspective or an anabolic one? Well, the catabolic leader manages. An anabolic leader leads. The catabolic leader delegates fully, and the anabolic leader participates in responsibilities and tasks. Catabolic leaders give information. Anabolic energies share detailed information. Catabolic leaders self-assess. Anabolic leaders collect feedback from others. Catabolic leaders work in crisis mode, and anabolic leaders plan ahead, and they hold others accountable. Catabolic leaders disconnect emotionally, and the anabolic leaders utilize emotional awareness. Catabolic leaders use left brain analysis. Anabolic leaders use whole brain thinking. Catabolic leaders deal with problems, and anabolic leaders see only opportunities. A catabolic leader takes advantage of others, and the anabolic leader sees the true human resource. So, those are some examples of how these gateways show up in everyday circumstances. I'd recommend that you review any or all of the individual levels to become more familiar with each. And as you do, you'll be able to recognize these gateways quicker and with more accuracy. One thing about deciphering these energy levels, the only person who can really know which level is active is the person experiencing it. Sometimes behaviors can look like they belong to multiple levels, but the determining factor is the intention behind the behavior. And though we may be able to make a pretty good guess as to what someone's underlying motivation is, the only person who knows for sure is that person. Now, as I said in the first video, the real power of all this information is found in our ability to make a conscious choice about how we want to respond to life. Simply knowing this information won't create any real change in our life, but choosing to respond differently than what has been our default reaction does create that change. And knowledge of these gateways is the first tool to discover many options for how we could respond in any given circumstance. Now, in the next video, and the final one of this series, I'll talk about the Energy Leadership Index assessment. This assessment lays out in black and white how we each experience these gateways, and it gives us clues as to when and how we often experience them. If you want to take the ELI now, you can sign up online right now. Just click the link. I look forward to talking with you in the next video.